All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to CCNA webinar, where we are going to understand exactly what do we cover in this course and how is it unique and different from other courses. And we are also going to see exactly that what is the structure of the course, what can you expect from it, and what exactly will be covered in a structured manner, right? So before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Arpit Pandit. I have been in training business for more than 16 years. And me and my partner who have started this organization, and we had many successful CCNA classes. We are passionate about training, and we really love to impart knowledge and also make sure that people get their certifications which they are looking for, right? So let's get started. First of all, let me introduce with the structure. So just to let you know, in case if you have any further questions or anything, you can always contact my partner Christian, and you can schedule a meeting with him. And you will see that there are a couple of more webinars today for CCIE and Linux as well later. So for any kind of specific topic, you can schedule a meeting with him to get more information, right? So let's get started. First of all, the program that we have created, Zero to CCNA, it's a completely hands-on program. Now, hands-on course basically means that you will get all the information that you need for CCNA exam. Although CCNA is mostly a multiple choice question exam, there are simulations here and there, 3 or 4 simulations there, but it's not so much practical heavy, unlike CCI exam, which is completely practical for 8 hours, right? So the idea is that when you are even trying to solve the multiple choice questions or drag and drop questions and some simulations which are practical questions, having the practical knowledge actually gives you more confidence. Let's say if I'm teaching you a topic, spanning tree protocol, or a routing protocol like OSPF, or security topics like access control list, if I explain you the logic and give you the detailed theory, that will be really beneficial for you, of course. But then if you can practicalize it and you can lab it, then you will be more confident in that particular area, right? And that's the objective, and that's why we created this course. So the idea is that we go through all the specific topics, and we also do the hands-on. So we'll see the detail exactly how this course is structured into this presentation, and what tools do we use to go through this, right? So just give me a minute. Let's start. All right, and again, as I said earlier, that you can always contact Christian in case if you have more questions. So you can always use the link that I have pasted into the chat for that to schedule a meeting. All right, so let's get started. The first thing first is that what is the structure of this course? So you will see that it's a once a week course. And the reason we have created it like this, and once a week and 2 hours per session, is because we had seen so many times people have created boot camps like of courses, not only just for CCNA, but for CCNP also and CCI also. 5 days courses, 7 days courses. Sometimes I have seen some courses 3 days complete CCNA, which is very insane because CCNA, although it's a entry level program, but it actually covers lots and lots of topics. And most importantly is the core topics, which are routing and switching, the basic building blocks of networking. Whether you want to go in security, cyber security, you want to go for cloud, anything you want to do later, you need to have the basics of networking covered properly, the routing and switching part. So just doing it in 3 to 5 days, so many topics, going through all of them, understanding the logic and trying to remember the commands, it becomes too much. And especially if you are new to networking, or you want to change gears and want to get into networking field, it's not enough time to just complete everything in 2 3 days or in a week. So we created a program which is going to be a live Zoom session program once a week, and we will actually go for 24 weeks. That means we will complete this program step by step in 24 weeks. And the reason we do this is because we take one technology, and I'm going to explain you the in-depth detail of the technology that is required for CCNA. So many times I say that this course is more like CCNA plus, because we go a little bit more than you need for just the CCNA level. And any topic that we are going to cover, you will see that we also cover a lab for that. So in the same session, once I explain you the logic and you say, okay, now I understand. So that's how ether channel works. Now it is clear. But now how about if I want to practice it? So immediately after the theory session, I'm going to show you the lab as well. Well, I will have instruction kind of lab PDF instructions where it will say configure this and configure this and configure this and troubleshoot this. So I'm going to step by step solve it within the live Zoom session as well. So not only you get the theoretical explanation of the topic, but you also get to see the live hands-on how exactly it is solved, how it is exactly it is configured on the devices. Now, once you understand the logic and you see the applying of the logic, it becomes clearer. And after that, after the session is finished, I'm going to send you the same lab so that you can also practice it during the week. And that's why we have the live classes only once a week. The reason is because when we cover a very important topic like OSPF or penning tree protocol, or any other important topic, for example, layer 2 security features, we want to make sure that you have some time yourself to do the practical and have your own questions, and those questions also answered in the next live Zoom session or one of the offline methods that you can ask questions. So that way, we pace it slowly and we make sure that you build confidence slowly into your CCNA journey, and all the topics that we cover, you become very solid, you become very comfortable in all the logics that we are going to cover there, right? So that's the one reason that we take it step by step and we complete this course slowly and make sure that everything is covered in depth. But also, one of the other things people generally face issue with is that they start preparing for CCNA and they want to start practicing, and they want to buy a rack. So they want to go to the eBay or something and want to buy a bunch of routers and switches, and they find out, okay, some routers do not support this feature, some switches do not support that feature, or I did not buy enough devices, or I did not buy the correct cables, and I have to set up the racking and the rack, and I have to do the power management. So it becomes it takes a lot of attention away, right? It takes a lot of attention away from your existing workload, from your existing workload from CCNA preparation. So you want to concentrate on the topics. You want to concentrate on the syllabus of CCNA, not on preparing the infrastructure where you can practice. So another very good thing about this course is, and one of the unique things about this course is that we will compile everything for you. We will use a simulation or emulation software called EVNG, where you can actually emulate routers and switches. And by the way, emulation is different from simulation. In emulation, we use the actual iOS images. That means just the front shell, which you see is not hardware, it's software. But in the backend, you are using the real operating system, real iOS of the routers and switches. So you get all the features as you would get in a hardware. Also, just having that virtual EVNG software is not enough. It's a free software. You can also download it and try to set it up. But what happens is you have to download it. You have to somehow procure iOS images because they don't provide the iOS images. Then you will have to license them. You have to copy them to that Linux backend, license them, and then somehow think of some topologies which can be useful for CCNA. So what we do here in this course, we take all this unnecessary work away from you, and we give you a package, a one file package, which will have everything. So that's called the OVA file. We are going to send you that OVA file, which will have all the iOSs and files and everything preloaded, licensed, and the topology is pre-built. And the reason we already created the topologies there, so that you can immediately from day one can start practicing what is important for the CCNA syllabus. So for CCNA, you don't need to learn EVNG, right? You just want to use it so that you can pass CCNA exam and you can become more knowledgeable in routing and switching infrastructure and enterprise infrastructure networking, right? So that's the main idea here. Now, one thing you will notice is that this course, as I mentioned, is 24 weeks. Although the topics will be, I think, 20 to 22 weeks will be topics, and then you will get a couple of more weeks to practice more things. But this course has a lifetime access. So you will see that we'll go through in-depth theory, multiple practical labs will be there. As a matter of fact, every week we will have one lab, and we only concentrate on one topic per week. Sometimes the topics are more advanced or in-depth, so we might go for a couple of weeks also for the same topic. But the idea is that we don't hurry, or we don't actually try to rush through things and finish a course in a bootcamp style. We want to take our time to learn the in-depth theory, and then I will do the lab in front of you step by step within the live Zoom session. And then I will send you the same lab so that you can do it on any of the PC you have, PC or laptop. You don't need much resources as well. Uh, and how do you do it? So I'm going to send you the complete package file, a single file called the OVA file. You just need to import it into the VMware workstation or VMware player, and then you will see that all the iOS images, their licenses, and the topologies will be ready for you to use and start practicing with the labs that I sent you. That is a big difference from many other courses, because what happens is you learn something, you understand it, and you see me doing it as well. But then when you want to do it, it's a hassle to set up everything, and sometimes it takes too much time away from your main thing. So that will be taken care of, right? And you can directly concentrate on the learning in that part. And as I mentioned, labs PDF will be sent after the session along with the solution file. So this is a big thing you need to understand, is that you need to have a paradigm shift or a change in mindset. Is that you are coming to this course, if you decide to join this course, you are coming here to learn, right? To learn and to make sure that you bridge the gaps you have in your previous experience, from your previous experience, or maybe you are completely new and you are learning all these topics. So always have the mindset of learning even when you are doing the labs. So when I'm teaching you some topics, of course you are learning, and when I am doing the lab for you step by step and showing you in the live Zoom session, that time also you are learning. But then you don't need to remember everything. So when I send you the lab, so during the off period into the week when we don't have a live session and you should do the lab yourself, you don't need to remember all the commands. You don't need to just read the lab file and try to do everything with from your memory. Go ahead and watch the solution file as many times as you want. Read the solution file as many times as you want. Use it, because it's still the learning phase. You're still learning, and of course you will get the support as well. It's a completely hands-on approach, and anytime you have any questions, you can actually, we also have a Facebook community group where we can all the students will join there, so you can ask your questions there. Somebody can answer. I will also answer there, so you get your answers even if it is not the uh, live session currently going on. And the topology that we give are EVNG based topologies with multiple routers and switches. One thing I want to point out that makes, again, another very important point which makes it unique, this course, is that the Zoom sessions that we will have, the live Zoom weekly live Zoom sessions, these will be recorded, and the recordings will be available to you for lifetime. So you will have lifetime access to these recordings. And the benefit of that is that sometimes you, because life kicks in, you all are working professionals. So sometimes if you miss a class, you can always go back and watch the recordings. And even if the class is finished and you are planning to take the exam and due to some reason you got delayed, and after few months or after 6 months, you realize that I want to do the exam now, and let me go and recap everything I learned, or let me refresh my knowledge. You don't need to pay anything extra. You still have the access to all the recordings. Second benefit you get with that is that anytime there is an update into the exam, or there is something new added to the exam, we are going to add it to our video arsenal, and you are going to get the access to that for free of cost, even if it is like after 2 years from now. For example, recently on 20th August, Cisco has changed the CCNA exam slightly, not too much, but some extra things are added, like predictive AI and machine learning and concept of Terraform. So these things will also be added into these recordings soon. So what will happen that if you have purchased this course and you get the lifetime access, or anybody, let's say, who purchased back in 2018 from us, we have few students who bought in 2018, so they will also get this updated information. So if they somehow could not get their certification that time, got busy, and now trying to prepare, they don't need to pay anything extra for the new things that will be covered there, right? So that is the that is another thing that makes this course unique. So just a second, guys. Let me also paste again the links so that anybody who has just recently joined, in case if you have more questions, you can always go and talk to Christian, because he can answer all your technical, non-technical questions as well. Because here in webinar we have limited time, so there you can actually ask him anything. You can have a private one-to-one dedicated session for all your questions, right? So I'm pasting the links again here, so that everyone who recently joined as well can see. So you can actually book any of the sections if you're interested into CCNA or CCI, or we have a new Linux live program, and we have a dedicated pre-recorded 52 weeks program as well in Linux. So both are very, very popular. So you can definitely request the information about those as well. So as I mentioned earlier, that we are going to use EVNG for this implementation, and we are going to use the software or the backend and the front end that we use for virtualizing or emulating the routers and switches. We use this program called EVNG. So it's a free program. You can go to evng.net and you can download the community version yourself. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a steep learning curve. You have to have the basic knowledge of Linux as well, because it is based on Ubuntu Linux. Excuse me. And you need to procure iOS images. You need to somehow copy it to that Linux machine, and then you will have to license them. And finally, you have to think of some topologies for your CCN practice. So forget all these things. We have got you covered. We will actually send you the file that will have everything in that, right? So all you will need from your side is VMware. So VMware Workstation Player is a free software. Although you can also use the VirtualBox, or you can also use any other software if you are using like KVM or Zen or anything. But from our side, we only officially support VMware Workstation Player, because that's what we are also using. So if you have any issues regarding the host hypervisor, then we might not be able to help you if it's not VMware. And that's the reason why we also recommend to use Windows machine for this one. So if you're using a Mac OS machine or Linux machine, then these hypervisor troubleshooting issues you might have to fix yourself. But if it is Windows, we might help you. We might have some tips for you. But it's pretty straightforward. You can download VMware Workstation Player, and there you just need to import the OVA file that I'll send you, right? Now, topologies are already set in EVNG. So that's and I'm going to show you also as a practical in few minutes that how exactly it looks like. But that's a big benefit, because now you can directly boot the devices. Routers and switches already have interconnection, and you can start practicing right from day one, right? So the OVA file I have been mentioning, that will be sent into the first week once you join the course, and all you need to do is to just import it in VMware. So there's a typo here, not import it in EVNG, import it in VMware. And I would recommend that you should have at least 8 gig of system RAM. So you don't need to reserve 8 gig for EVNG, but your overall system, like if you're using a laptop or a desktop, you should have 8 gig of RAM recommended. But minimum is 4 gig. Even 4 gig, with 4 gig, you will be able to easily do the practical. But 8 gig is recommended. And second thing you will see is that you should set the network interface type to NAT. So when you go to the settings of this virtual machine, you can set the RAM. You can see on the right hand side how much you have and how much you want to assign. So 4 to 8 gig is enough. And you see on the left hand side network adapter, you should set to NAT. So that way you will get an IP address, and you just need to use it to access your EVNG. Another good thing is that although EVNG is based on Linux, it's an Ubuntu-based virtualization system, but you don't need to know Linux commands or any in-depth Linux information for this. You just need to boot this machine inside VMware and wait for it to get an IP address, and you just need to note that IP address to open in a browser and start using it, right? So let me give you an example. I see a question is EVNG popular used in the working environment. So this is actually more used for POC purposes, like proof of concept, and also for practicing for certifications or learning new technologies. Like on the personal level, you can use it to learn CCNA, CCNP, even CCIE level, because it actually uses the original operating system in the backend. It's an emulator, not a simulator. So it's not simulating to be the real router or switch. It is really using the operating system of the routers or switches, right? Or firewalls or SD-WAN devices, whatever you are trying to emulate. So it's a really great software to do the POC, proof of concept. You want to check something is properly working or not before implementing in the production environment, or want to show your customers that the technology is working. It's a great tool for that, for sure. Right, but again, this is not the only tool. It's our choice of selection because this one is pretty straightforward. It takes most of the hypervisor setting work away from you, so that you can concentrate on the real thing, which is the technology you want to learn, right? So let me give you an example of this. So if I go to the sorry, first of all, let me go to the VMware. So you will see that when you open the VMware, and you import the OVI I sent you, it will boot and it will show you the screen like this. So you can see that on the screen, it will ask you for a login. So it's like a Linux Ubuntu machine. It is asking you for the username and password, which you can see right at the top. The default username is root and the password is EVE. But you don't need to log in into Linux. As I mentioned earlier, you don't need to know anything about Linux. All you need to do at this screen, whenever you boot your EVE-NG, is to note down the IP address from here, right? So when you note down the IP address that it has received, 79.130, and you just need to open it in one of the browsers. So when you do that, it will show you this screen, which is called the EVE-NG login screen. And this is your GUI login for EVE-NG. And the GUI login, HTTP based login, has a different username and password. It is admin and EVE again is the password, right? So when you log in, you see some pre-built topologies, which I will already have there. Let me switch it off first. So you see that when I send you the OVA, you will see some 0 to CCNA topologies pre-built, like 0 to CCNA, 0 to CCNA, BGP, IPv6, OSPF, all the other routing or troubleshooting scenarios, right? When you click on one of the topologies, you will see that it already has the routers and the switches and pre-built connections between them. So let's say if we are talking about some VLAN concepts, creating VLANs, configuring trunking, configuring Ether channel, mostly switching topics or spanning tree protocol, so you can concentrate on the interconnections of the switches. Very easy to start the devices, and very easy to actually access the console of the device. And once you do that, you will be able to start using the device right away like this. So you can check exactly what is the configuration. We have two VLANs here, IT and HR. You want to associate an interface. So all these things we are going to learn. What we are doing right now is not important. The important thing is that you can see the interface is very smooth. It's very fast. It's pretty it's fast as well. Like it's actually the response time is very good. You can see I just added an interface to this VLAN. So these all logics we are going to learn. Don't worry about that. But you can see that the access of these devices, routers or switches, becomes extremely easy. You can use other virtualization software also for your own practice. But if you're joining this course and if you want to follow all the labs, these labs actually depend on these topologies, right? So that's why you must use this software for practicing. But then once you have the knowledge of technology, you can of course use GNS3 or any other like there is Unit Lab. You can use other virtualization softwares as well. At the end of the day, you just want to have access to some routers and switches. You can also buy physical devices and try to practice once you have the core knowledge and the confidence, right? So I would always suggest to stick to the EVE-NG first. Make sure you are very comfortable with CLI, you understand the technologies, and then you can venture out and use other things as well. Because ultimately the objective is to learn things, right? For example, this topology, we are using three branches, branch 1, branch 2, and branch 3, connected through the router 3 acting as internet. So we will have different scenarios based on that. So just to give you an example, uh, if I open one of the lab that we will do. So like we will do the labs every week in every live Zoom session. So let's take an example. For example, we are going to do the lab on BGP. Border gateway protocol, the protocol on which the whole internet works, right? So I'll send you a PDF lab, something like this, where I will tell you which topology to open into EVNG, wipe all nodes so that your previous configuration you might have saved should be gone and it should go back to the pre-config. And then you boot all the devices like in the topology I just showed you here. And after that, it gives you the instruction what to do. Configure these at subnetting, configure out on a stick. And after this, once it is done, configure eBGP between router 1 and router 2. So these are, you can see instructions, and you need to configure these things. So since I will teach you BGP more than what you need for CCNA, to be honest, like, a little bit more than that. So CCNA plus, you can call it. So you will have the knowledge of of BGP. Second thing, within the live Zoom session, I am going to solve this lab step by step. So I will go through every point. I'll go to the devices, I'll configure them, and I will not be quiet when I'm configuring. I will be explaining also what I'm doing and why I'm doing that, so that you exactly get the idea. Okay, this is how the labs have to be solved. Again, because you have to have a mindset of learning even when you are doing the lab. So for the next 24 weeks, when this course goes through step by step with all the topics, we are going to have the mindset of learning and learning only. That's why along with this, you will also get the answer file. So you can see that for the same BGP lab, I will send you another PDF, which will be the solution. So when you see that, there will be exactly the configuration that you need to do for every single point, right? And what exactly is the configuration required for all these different instructions or the steps. So this actually makes it also extremely powerful tool, right? So that's what we are going to use in this course. Also, you will see that CCNA has recently been slightly changed. Mostly the core topics of CCNA remain same. And I always say this, I have been in training business for more than 16 years, is that if you want to do anything in networking, I always recommend to start with CCNA. Even if you, even nowadays, there's only CCNA, and then you have different streams on the CCNP level. But earlier it used to be different CCNAs also, like CCNA security, CCNA wireless, CCNA collaboration, and all these things. But I always said that you should always start with CCNA routing and switching, because routing and switching is the infrastructure of any network. You can't think of any kind of infrastructure without routing and switching. And that's why nowadays the routing and switching is called enterprise infrastructure, like CCI routing switching. They call it now CCI enterprise infrastructure, right? So even if you are thinking to learn cybersecurity, for example, so okay, I want to learn cybersecurity. What do I need? I need security plus. I need to know all the security terms. I need to learn some ethical hacking. I need to learn some penetration testing. Maybe I need to learn how exactly we can mitigate the risk. But mitigate the risk on what? On your infrastructure, right? You have your infrastructure. You want to safeguard it. So having a knowledge of how the routing works, how the packets move from one location to another location, how the frames move within a particular network becomes extremely important. So when you do CCNA, you will gain something very, very important in this course. You will gain the in-depth knowledge of routing and switching, which is going to help you immensely if you plan to go for CCNP or CCIE. But if not, even if you want to do cloud, for example, I want to go to learn AWS. But you know what? In AWS also, at some point, you will have to deal with networking. You will have to deal with VPCs, virtual private clouds, where there are different subnets created, set up into different availability zones inside the regions. And you will say, what is going on? I don't understand this logic. So if you did your CCNA properly, it will help you immensely there. So you can bring anything to me. Wireless is also nothing but a different media type, right? Radio frequency bands, but it's still using the logic of packets and frames. Or if you want to do security, you have to know the infrastructural knowledge to be more confident in security. That's why, although there are few new topics here, and these are all basically just to market better CCNA, like they have now introduced the Terraform or AI, predictive AI or machine learning, but these accounts for less than 10% of the exam. The core of the CCNA is still routing and switching, right? So you'll see that we will cover basics of networking in that. Very important, IPv4 addressing and subnetting. Another very, very important topic, because subnetting is something that you will see in CCNP, even up to CCI level as well. Subnetting is used everywhere. So in all our labs, like you must have noticed in our BGP lab, which I just showed you, we also had a subnetting question that all the PCs should be configured with IP addresses into different subnets. And the reason I include subnetting into every single lab is because it's one of the very important topics. Yes, there are subnetting calculators available that you can use in your production environment, but in the exams you will not have that. So you need to know how to perform subnetting, and we will see some very, very cool shortcut technologies, techniques as well to do that. Switching topics, VLANs, VTP, Ether channel, STP, trunking, all these we are going to cover very in depth, especially spanning tree protocol is the core switching topic. And we will make sure that even if you have never heard of STP before, you become very comfortable after our classes, right? Router basic config and secure shell configuration, securing the router access, and what are the basic things that you should configure before you can start using it for the purpose which is routing. Static and default routing, what exactly do they mean? What is the difference between them? How they are different from dynamic routing, which covers routing protocols. So CCNA used to cover before RIP and EIGRP as well, but they have removed it now. Only OSPF is covered. But I will provide you the pre-recorded sessions from our earlier classes where I also go through RIP and EIGRP. So although we will not cover it into the live Zoom session, but you will have the recordings available to you. So that if you're interested into them, you can definitely watch those videos as well. But although not needed for the CCNA exam itself, right? IPv6 addressing will also be covered in detail, and then all the other IP services. IP services simply means that your infrastructure is already set, your routing and switching is already properly working, you have reachability, and then you can add some more services like you can configure GRE tunneling, network address translation to translate addresses so that you can go to the internet, public versus private IP addresses, network time protocol for time synchronization, and so on. So these are just some of the examples that we are going to cover these different services. And of course, security features. Security features also are very important because what happens in security features is that you need to excuse me, you need to know exactly how you can secure your layer 3 and how can you secure your layer 2. So layer 3 security features like access control list, or layer 2 security features like dynamic ARP inspection or DHCP snooping, IP source card, these things will be covered there, right? Wireless basics, because there is some wireless theoretical topics as well, virtualization basics, and automation and programmability, right? So this will actually cover your CCNA course. So apart from this, let's talk about the structure of CCNA exam. Before that, I have a question that someone told me that I have to know OSI and T. Would you talk about that? So those things also you will see. Mostly we are going to concentrate on the hands-on because we want to make sure that whenever you are doing a topic, you also can practicalize it, right? But some topics you will see in CCNA exam are completely theoretical topics, or some topics which are not technically CCNA. You can call them network plus, like pre-CCNA, but still you should be aware of them. So we also, when you go to the video portal we have, where you can see all the every week's recording, like wherever we have live Zoom session, they will be recorded. So there you will also find these extra videos, like if you want to know the very basics of networking, OSI model, TCP/IP model, the difference between these models, or how exactly the layer 2 frames are structurized. These things you can actually watch there as well. And again, whatever we are going to do in the live Zoom session, you can watch those things as well in the same way. Talking about CCNA exam, now you will see that there is a new version from August 20th, 2024. They have changed it from version 1.0 to version 1.1, but it's a minor update. That's why they did not change the exam code. Exam code is still same 200-301, and it's a 2 hours exam, so you get 120 minutes to complete it. And if you're a non-native English speaker from a country like Germany, Spain, India, like this, then you get 30 minutes extra. But if you are from US or any native English speaking country, then you get 2 hours. But to be honest, you only get like 50 to 60 questions, so if you have properly practiced, that will be more than enough. The question types will be multiple choice questions, drag and drops, tables matching, and simulation. So these are the different things that will be covered there. And there will be 50 to 60 questions into the exam. And you will see that the most important or the most time-taking aspect of the exam is the simulation. Simulations means where you actually have to click on the devices and use the show commands or use the configuration commands to configure something, to fix something, to troubleshoot something, right? So that's where our course will be extremely helpful, because we will go through every topic from the hands-on approach, so that you become very comfortable in configuration and it becomes second nature to you. And all the commands that you need to know, you will remember that in the exam, right? Also, when you learn something and you practicalize it, you also understand the theory better. So it will also help you into the multiple choice questions, the drag and drop questions as well, right? So having said that, about myself a little bit, I have two CCIs, one in routing and switching and one in service provider. So I was lucky enough to do it at the time when I was training CCNA. So that helped me also to prepare for my CCNP and then do my CCIE. And I was lucky enough to pass it in first attempt, routing, switching, and service provider both. And now I'm planning for CCI security in maybe in like a year if the time permits. But yes, Cisco is something is my bread and butter. I really like Cisco technologies, but of course, I also teach Linux or AWS or cloud technologies and Juniper. So there are different things that I'm in networking that interest me, and programmability like Python language as well. But Cisco is something which is very near and dear to my heart. And I have more than 16 years of training experience, to be honest. Now it's almost 18 years, out of which last 12 years I have been training mostly CCI classes and CCNA classes. So Cisco is something uh, that is very natural, comes very naturally to me, Cisco technology. And I also work as a consultant to various organizations, some of the managed service providers as well. So I keep an eye on the new technologies, what new SD-WAN implementations are they doing, especially on the service provider side, because I work more with the service provider networks. So backend is generally BGP and Juniper based, and the front end is generally Cisco based. So I do keep an eye that what exactly can I include into the classes as live examples as well that can benefit them. And although it's a cliche, but training is my passion. So me and Christian both, we are always very happy whenever we can actually help someone with with their training requirements and with their knowledge requirement overall. Like if we help someone to understand some topics and gain their certifications, it makes us very happy. So that is actually something also makes us slightly different from other training providers. By the way, I'm pasting the links again here into the chat, so you can go to the chat and you can schedule a Zoom session with Christian. So currently, we have other webinars also lined up, so we will not have much time after this. But if you have more questions, feel free to book a call with Christian, and it will be a personal one-to-one Zoom session. So you will have complete 1 hour to yourself to ask all the questions and queries and anything that you have, technical or non-technical, regarding this course, which will be very straightforward and very easily answered by Christian. So that can help you a lot, right? So you definitely book a session. You can book for CCNA or CCIE or Linux, because we have CCIE and Linux webinars also coming up in couple of hours. So I think CCIE is soon, and then after CCIE, Linux webinar is in few hours. So you can book any of those sessions as well, no problem at all, right? So that's it from my side. That was the basic introduction to our course. And I would say thanks a lot for joining. And for any questions, just make sure that you have copied those links from the chat, so that you can contact Christian and you can have a one-to-one dedicated session, so you can see exactly whether this course is good for you or not. I would tell you that this will be the best course you will ever get for CCNA, because of the timing and the pacing and all the resources that you get. Also, my training style that I use is actually chalk and talk. So I use OneNote and I use the just like a whiteboard. I don't like to rely on PPTs too much. PowerPoint presentation, they are important. Sometimes they are very useful, but when you are explaining some packet flow, some logic, it's always good to have a free hand, like a whiteboard kind of implementation. So I always use whiteboards, and I always try to explain things very in depth, and then of course I back it up with the configuration labs, which is going to help you guys a lot, right? So having said that, thanks a lot for everyone for joining, and make sure you copy all those links and then keep it with you, and you can then later go to any one of those to book a one-to-one session with Christian. So thank you guys, and I hopefully see you again into the CCIE webinar, which is coming next around in 1 hour and a half. Right. So bye bye everyone. Have a good night.